Hi guys, I'm Jesse at Strobepro.com, and today I'm going to be showing you the X60 TTL flashes. There's been a few changes over the years, so we decided to update this video for 2020 and show you why this flash is still one of the best values on the market. If you're paying full price for an OEM flash, you're really just paying too much because this thing is absolutely jam-packed, full of features, and the tech in here is going to give you the best flash that you can still buy today. So let's get in depth, show you what it's all about, and take a look right now. So in these flashes, we have a couple different models, and the main difference between these is going to be the battery operation of them. So we have our traditional AA version, which is going to take 4 AA batteries in here. And then we have our lithium version, which takes the proprietary lithium battery. So the main difference between those is going to be recycling time and obviously the battery life. So in the lithium, it's going to recycle about twice as fast as a AA, and it's going to last almost 3 times as long. So that's the main difference between those two. The features in them are basically the same, but if you want maximum recycle speed and longevity, you're going to want to go with the lithium. If you're just a casual shooter, you don't really need those features, then the AA is still a great option. So these flashes might look familiar. We've been selling them under the Strobepro brand for a little bit now. So we have the X60, which is going to be our AA, and then we have our X60 lithium, which is obviously the lithium. Now in the Godox version, you're going to see the AA version listed as the TT685. And the lithium version is going to be the V860 version 2. So they're fully compatible between each other, just between Strobepro and Godox. Those are the different brands that you'll see. So one of the great things about these flashes in 2020 is that as long as you're choosing the correct flash for your camera body, we have the brand covered for you. So we carry Canon, Nikon, Sony, Fuji, Panasonic, Olympus, and Pentax. So pick the flash that matches your camera body and you'll be able to use this on camera and have all the features enabled. Another great feature is that if you want to use this flash off camera, all you need to do is purchase the correct controller for your camera body and you're going to have full TTL high-speed sync and all the features available off camera, no matter what brand you're using. So I can use a Canon flash off camera on a Nikon body as long as I've got the correct controller to my camera body that I'm using. So what's included in the box is pretty similar between the two. So both are going to have a protective pouch. Inside there you're going to have your flash, and in the back here, sometimes people miss it, there's a little pouch in the back, and in there you're going to have your flash foot. So if you want to use that to stand it up like we're doing here, you can use that guy there. Now in the lithium version, you're also going to get a couple other things. The box is a little bit bigger. You're going to get the battery obviously, and then you're going to have the battery charger. So that's the only difference between the AA and the lithium version. So I just want to show you a couple of features on the outside of your flash, just so you know what they are. First of all, you're going to see this cover inside here, and if you pop that open, underneath that rubber protective cover, you're going to see 2 slots. So right here we have our micro USB. There's going to be this strange kind of looking port and a PC sync port there. So the USB is used for updating firmware. This is an older legacy port. In 2020, very few people are using the older legacy controllers, but that's a really nice thing that we offer. That you can use your system, years in the future here. They're not going to go out of date. And if by some chance you were still trying to trigger that with a PC sync cable, then you could still do that. Moving on to the top here, we've got a couple features. We have our bounce card, which pops out like that. And you're also going to see the wide angle diffuser pop out there. So you can use them at the same time, or you can push that in if you don't want to use it. And just be careful with these. A lot of people just grab it and kind of rip it out. And if you rip too hard, you don't want to pop that thing off because then it's going to be sent back here to be repaired. So just be cautious about that. Great thing about this flash as well is the full articulation. So we can flip it down like that. There's no button or safety. It holds its position just by force, which is nice. And then we can move that completely around. So if you're shooting that on camera, you want to bounce back into the ceiling or something, it's a really nice tilt to be able to do that. In the front here, this red piece is our optical sensor. So occasionally, once we'll show you in a minute here, this has the ability to blink and receive optical flashes to trigger this flash. So other than that, we've just got our hot shoe in the bottom here. And these hot shoes are all going to be different depending on what brand you have, and the pin location will be different. So to mount this to a camera, all we're doing, spin this lock all the way back, and then you're just going to slide it under the flash and tighten it down. One thing you want to keep in mind is that when this is down, it sets a pin, and this is the locking pin, it pushes it down. So you don't want to just pull this off your camera without releasing this all the way up, because you could possibly damage the locking pin there. So just make sure that's all the way up. Other than that, the outside is pretty straightforward. So let's get into some of the features on the menu system. Okay guys, so to go turn this flash on, we've just got our power switch here and just flip it to on. So one of the things I just want to mention before we really get started is that I'm going to be going through a Nikon here, which is essentially the same as the other brands. There may be a feature or two just depending on the firmware that's different, like in a Canon or a Sony or a Fuji. But basically the gist of everything is going to be very similar. If there's something you're curious about, consult the manual, or you can also contact us at the shop and we're happy to help you through anything you might be stuck on. So when we turn the flash on right away, you're going to see, because this is a Nikon, it's in ITTL. So in this mode, this is going to be ideal for just putting it onto your camera hot shoe. We don't have any of the wireless features turned on right now. So this is just if you want to go point and shoot with the flash on your camera, this is the mode that you want to use. So we have the TTL mode there. We've also got, if I hit the mode button over here on the left, we've got manual mode, and then we've got, it says RPT, which is basically multi-burst mode on the Nikon. So let's just go back to TTL for a second here and take a look at a couple of the things that. So back on TTL, we have a couple of different options that we can do. So TTL is obviously going to set the power to what it thinks through the lens, but we can kind of override that a bit. If I hit that plus minus button right here, and I'm looking at the screen, and the button directly underneath of that is what controls it, you're going to see that highlight up there, and it'll go off if I don't do something to it. But now I can use the dial and I can add exposure compensation. So if you take a shot, you think the TTL is underexposed or overexposed, you can adjust that to whatever you want. If I leave it, it'll lock in, or I can just hit the set button and it's locked in there. So I want to take that off of there. Just go back to 0. There we go. Hit the set, and now we're back to 0. So the other button that we have is the zoom custom function. So I'm going to hit the zoom first of all, and you're going to see that it highlights up there by the zoom. Now I can rotate that, and I don't know if you can hear it on the camera, but what you're hearing is the diaphragm in the flash opening and closing. So we can set this all the way up to 200 millimeters, or we can set it all the way down to 20 millimeters. So the lowest is 20 millimeters there, but if I happen to go and pull out the wide angle diffuser, and I'll try to get this so you guys can see it here, just the wide angle, if that pops out and flips down, you're going to see that it changed to 14 millimeters. And that's strictly because we're using the wide angle diffusers, trying to give you the biggest diffusion, the widest shot possible there. Now, if I don't push that all the way back in, see I didn't click it there, when I click it down, now it's going back to 20. So just be aware of that. We've also got the option for automatic. We're not hooked up to a camera here, but you're going to see AU show up if this was actually mounted onto your camera and you've got your lens attached. So you can match that up. Once it says AU, that's in automatic mode then. And every time you zoom your lens, this will automatically change the zoom to match it. So that's TTL. If we go to, well, we've got auto sleep there, so we can actually wake that back up. We can turn that off. I'll show you in a second here. But we can go into manual. Manual is very straightforward. We've got our power level, so just use the dial. So it goes 1/1 is going to be full power, 1/128 is going to be minimum power. Now we've got a couple things over here that are important to look at. This S1, S2 is the optical slave. So you see S1 pop up. Now any flash will trigger this. If it sees a light from another speedlight, another strobe, it's going to fire. If I hit it again and go into S2, that just ignores the pre-flash delay on like red eye reduction cameras or TTL flash. Very rarely are you going to use that these days anymore, but it is there just in case. This flash will automatically pick up high-speed sync, but if for some reason you've got a really old camera and it's not compatible with that in your camera body, you can hit the sync button here, which will force this flash into high-speed sync so you can use the flash all the way up to 1/8,000th of a second. The next button over here is the plus minus. Basically all this is just a shortcut to highlight the power level, then we can use the wheel to do that. But really you don't even need to do that. You can just turn the wheel and it'll automatically go to that. So that's kind of a redundant button there. And then we've got our zoom again, which we can control the zoom, which we just talked about. And we'll go into the custom functions if I long press that in a minute here. So that's manual mode. Now going over to multi-mode, we've got a couple of new options here now. So now we can set the number of flashes and the hertz. So to do that, we go over to the hertz here and I can set that, and it's at 1. I can bring it all the way up to 100 hertz if I wanted to. So we'll just go back down, set it at 10 here. And then the multi here, so directly under multi, now this is the number of shots that we're going to fire. So let's say we want to fire 8 shots at 10 hertz, then I can hit the test button and it's going to blast those off in quick sequence. Now this is not a mode for setting your camera into continuous high or continuous low and then bursting the flash. That is not what this is about at all. What this is typically used for is if you wanted to capture one frame in a sequence. So let's say you had a dancer moving across the stage and you wanted to get them jumping, or a skier going off a jump and capturing in one frame kind of the sequence of the trick that they're doing. This would be that feature that you're going to use. So don't confuse that, please, with shooting your camera in continuous high or continuous low. Okay, so let's get out of our multi-mode here and we're back to the main TTL screen. This is going to change depending on the brand as well. I don't know if I mentioned that, but you'll have eTTL for Canon, for example. But if you see that, just know that you're in TTL mode. So now we're going to flip into some of our wireless modes, and this little kind of horizontal lightning bolt here is the button that we're going to use for that. So pushing it once goes into master mode, and the important thing to see over here is that lightning bolt in the top left corner. That means optical master. So that is not enabling the radio still. This is still just a flash. It's going to trigger this. It's going to send out an infrared burst to control the other flashes. Pretty rarely do we use this now because we have all the tech of the controllers. So I'm not even going to go through that. I'm going to show you the wireless one instead. If we push that, we're in slave. And again, we're still in optical, so we don't want that one. Now we're in master mode in wireless. And you can tell because we've got the wireless symbol up in the top left corner. So let's get into this and show you how this is used. Okay, so now we're in master mode. This is a feature that's going to allow your flash that's on your camera to control other flashes that you might have off camera. So this can be useful if you're a wedding shooter, you don't want to have a controller, you just want to do everything through the flash. This basically is working as your controller as well. So we have a couple of groups listed there. So we have the M, which is our master flash here. So that's this one. And then groups A, B, and C are going to be the ones that we control. Now to do that, we need to set our channel first of all so that we would match it up to the channel on the other flashes. You can see down here on the left, we're in channel 1. So to change that, I would just hit the CH button. So again, looking directly below that screen, and then it's going to highlight, and I can move that to whatever I want. So I would set this one, we're going to stay on channel 1, and now I would set my other flashes to channel 1, and then I would have, let's say I had 3 of them, I would set channel 1 group A, channel 1 group B on another one, and channel 1 group C on the third one. Now let's get into how we control each different flash. So this GR button is the group, and what that allows me to do is flip between A, B, C, and back up to our master there. So once we have it highlighted, we can actually use the dial if we wanted to scroll through those as well. Once it's highlighted, then we're just going to use our same mode button. Actually, no, we're not. We're going to use the mode button over here, just directly below. So we've got our TTL, our manual, and then that dotted line is off. So when I go to TTL, I've got exposure compensation again that I can do on that. I'm using, just like before, the plus minus, and I can add +3 to -3 really easily if I want to do that. Go back to 0, oops, back to 0. So that's your control that you have on TTL. If I hit the mode again, now I'm in manual, and I need to not do that. I need to hit the plus minus so it knows that we want to control the power, and just adjust the power with the dial again there. So a lot of times you might not want to have the flash on, so I would just hit my mode, turn it off, and what I actually want to control is my other groups. So let's say I want to set this one, TTL, I wanted to set group B to manual mode and group C to TTL. You can do that if you wanted to. You've got a lot of flexibility to be able to control all of those flashes directly from this one. We've got one more kind of niche feature here. So if you have no group selected, we can go over to the other mode button. We're not using the mode button we were up here. This is the main mode over here. If I push that, it's going to go from my master that we were just in over to the multi-burst mode again. Now I can set, just like before we were talking about the number of shots and the hertz. So we have menu 1, we need to go to menu 2. So I push that again here, and now I've got my multi, so I can select the number of shots. Then I can select my hertz there again. I can test fire that off if I want. And then the really cool feature is I can select my different groups again. What I need to do is just go back to menu 1, select my group. So I'm on C, I've got my master flash. Let's go to A. So this is saying that remote multi-burst firing would be turned on A. The other option is to turn it off. So this is all set from here. You're not going to be able to independently set the multi-burst mode on the other flashes. It would all be controlled through here. Chances are, going through your flash, you might have ended up in this mode accidentally. So to back out of it, you're going to just hit the mode button, and that's going to get you out of there. So whenever you're stuck in some kind of place you don't want to be, just hit the mode button, and then we can get right out of there. So going from our radio master mode, we're going to go into probably the mode that this flash is going to be in most of the time if you're using it off camera. So we're actually going to go and push our horizontal lightning bolt there again, and you're going to see the screen turn red. And just stressing here again, we know we're in radio because we've got the wireless symbol up there. Now with the screen red, you're going to see it go to slave as well, and we've got a couple things that we saw before, which is our channel and our group. If we want to change the group, again, we're just going to hit our group button, and that's just going to cycle through our ABC, TTL option groups that we have there. Our channel is the exact same thing. We can highlight the channel button and then use the dial like we did before to set this. Now, once it's set, you're probably very rarely going to change this again. What we want to do now, though, is make sure we match our group and our channel with our controller. So we've got Group A, Channel 1, and so if I'm using my controller, I need to match those up. So I'm on Channel 1, and I hit Group A. But look, I'm in TTL over there, and I'm in manual. That's because I've never synced these two together before. To make sure that they're working, I would just hit the test button, and right away you're going to see that the flash went into manual mode. You can see that it says Nikon down below because it knows that we're using a Nikon controller. If I happen to be using a Sony controller, it would say Sony down there, even though we're using a Nikon flash. That's one of the new features that we have. And now I've got all my controls directly on here, so I can adjust my power, and you'll see that change right down here. And I can change my mode just by hitting mode over here. So now it's off. And then I can go into TTL, and I still have my exposure compensation. Even though you won't see it changing on the screen here, it is actually changing on there. So really easy to use, and you've got all the features right on your controller that you had in the actual flash menu. So if you want to learn more about the controllers, we have dedicated videos for each of them. So if you plan on shooting off camera, definitely check those videos out, pick up a controller. It's really going to expand the features that you have available on your Speedlites and your flashes. So you've seen all the features. We've got the AA and the lithium version. The AA compares to the flagship models from Canon and Nikon at 1/4 of the price. If you want to step up to the lithium version, you're getting features that they don't even have the ability to match. You're getting the lithium power in here, which gives you 650 full power shots on a single charge. Plus you're getting recycling time that's cut in half. This thing is absolutely amazing. So I hope you've enjoyed all of the information that we've given you in this deep dive through the X60 TTL flashes. Be sure to check out all of the different options on the website. And until next time, I'm Jesse at Strobepro.com.